For those unaware, what are microgreens?
Yeah, so microgreens are the same plants and vegetables that you would see as a mature broccoli or kohlrabi or radish, and they're harvested 10 to 14 days depending on the variety, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter, depending on the season, for optimal nutrition and flavor and texture. And so you can produce a lot of food in a short amount of time with minimal resources year round.
How do you think about the nutrients with microgreens?
Yeah, I started to follow the research of Dr. Rhonda Patrick, I think now she's kind of like a celebrity researcher, scientist.
Yeah, I mean, if you get on Joe Rogan 3-4
Yeah,
times
yeah,
and you
and
keep
she's,
saying broccoli microgreens,
yeah,
microgreens.
it's gonna come on. But she's done a ton of research, and there's been a lot of studies already on the phytonutrients and micronutrients, microgreens, and the concentration of those nutrients. I feel like I attribute my not getting COVID during COVID to microgreens and obviously some other lifestyle choices. But I have such high gratitude for microgreens as a food, and then also as a crop that gave me the opportunity to build a business.
If you were to personify the plant, who is it? What is the spirit of microgreens?
Ah, wow. I would say it's a youthful, high energy spirit with the confidence, being able to do anything and everything, even if it doesn't know how to do it. It has what it needs to figure it out. They're so resilient, and they communicate extremely well, both in the greenhouse and in terms of your health. And they're very forgiving too. So that kind of spirit.
What was your favorite part about working with them?
Um, their character. It's so cool to see how they exhibit different characteristics, from a sunflower to a pea shoot, to cilantro, radish, and how they're able, like, we stack our trays still to germinate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just amazing to see them lift up, like literally just spring for joy and for sun. And it's so cool to get a chance just to understand their language and their personalities and what they like and what they don't like. And then, sampling them every week.
What about being in that greenhouse, just working in it,
Beautiful.
surrounded by thousands, tens of thousands of
Yeah,
plants?
beautiful. When everything is going so well, you feel a sense of harmony with the plants. They love what you're doing, the care and attention. Everything's working out. Perfect amount of water, light, air circulation, humidity, like temperature. Those are the days that it's like you feel like so good and so connected. And I loved working in the greenhouse. Before the pandemic, that was all I did. Life was simple, let's say. I just knew that I couldn't be in the greenhouse when the need was so high. And I had to figure out something else. And just being also so surprised that there wasn't a strong, coordinated local food web.
Mm-hmm. What about connections with other microgreens farmers?
Yeah.
What did that look like?
Honestly, I didn't have a ton of connections with other farmers. There was one farmer that we would exchange some ideas with back in the day. What's his name? I'm blanking on his name.
In Colorado?
Yeah, in
Andy?
No, I knew Andy. There was another guy though.
Where was he located?
I'm gonna say like Englewood. He mainly grew tomatoes.
Oh, okay. And he got out of it.
He got out of it, I think.
Okay.
I think we lost touch, but
And then I think I think I know who you're talking about. And then he got into supporting greenhouses with watering or with lighting or something else. He started selling into greenhouses.
I'm not sure about that.
Oh,
I
different guy, maybe. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't spoken to him in a long time. But yeah, I mean, I think at that point it was like Andy and us that were primarily the main growers for restaurants and doing it at scale.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were some like smaller farmers that had like a handful of restaurants. But I think back then I feel like that was it.
This podcast is brought to you by B Micro, a company I'm deeply passionate about because I founded it in 2018. It's USDA organic freeze-dried microgreens for everyday nutrition and detox.
Sprinkle them on any meal or take them as a capsule to enjoy the many healthy benefits.
Shop now at bmicro.farm. Use code STEVE15 to save.
What could the microgreens industry use more of today?
I think an association of sorts, like a trade association.
Agreed.
I think
I've tried. I have.
Awesome. What was your experience with that?
You could do it at a state level or at a federal level, and there is some funding available for it, and I think there's a lot of power to bring the many voices together to then lobby and let, our politicians know, like, hey, our group is representing 100 farmers and $50 million worth of produce and this many people and all of that. And here's where we need some help and things like that.
That's great.
And had some good people on the team that really wanted to do it and just couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
I've talked to many associations, like how they did it, like the Potato Association and the Dairy Association. And it's just, there was not a clear, easy path to doing it. And it was just too much of a lift for me. And I'm like, I really want to unify this group because I was fearful of what happened to Sprouts, where Sprouts, the product of, grown in like a mason jar, where there's E. coli, salmonella outbreaks because people are just growing them in their spare bedrooms. And there's a cat in the room and it's like, this is not clean. And then you could crush the whole industry. I grew up in Chicagoland area where we have Jimmy John's and there was a whole E. coli outbreak with Sprouts and then they just cut it from their menu. And then never brought it back. And a lot of people did that. I was like, we got one slip up and our industry is smoked.
I was so scared of that in the beginning. And that's why we started with food safety as like foundational to the operation.
Same.
And I was like...
And it's a big investment.
It's a big investment. And we were like, I remember a few run-ins with the health department where they thought that microgreens were Sprouts and they told us it was a manufactured food item. And I said, they are not. It's a one-cut raw ag product. And I couldn't argue the case until the FDA actually came out with guidelines that separated the cultivation of Sprouts and microgreens. And so after that, I had that in my back pocket and showed it to them. And even during the farmer's market, like what we would do is we would bring trays to the market and cut on site. And one of the reps from the health department stopped us and said, you got to shut down. Thankfully, we had already sold out. But I was like, this is a one cut process, right? We're not processing. And he was like, you guys got to shut it down. And I was like, okay. So I called the health department back and I said, hey, I just want to get clarity on this. If I was in the wrong, let me know. But if you're in the wrong, like, let's figure it out so that future microgreen farmers don't get hassled. And the conclusion was that they are indeed a raw ag product and that the new guidelines hadn't circulated through their department yet. And they apologized for the inconvenience. So I was like, okay, great. But pretty soon after that, we got GAP certified, USDA, and we had that as part of our certification list.
Yeah. What microgreen do you connect the most with? What are you eating the most?
Nowadays, peas. Yeah, I've always been a fan of peas.
So delicious.
Yeah, I love sunflowers. They're messy though. You know,
It's
they
tricky
shed
with the seeds
they
sticking to
they
them.
shed a ton of seed hulls.
What's the best way to get the seeds off of them as a grower?
It's a good question. We wet them as soon as we uncover them, and that cleans them a little bit too.
Oh, okay. We
So
just it's like mist
just
them,
no, we actually just use our filtered water and just
spray 'em.
spray them.
Okay.
There's a little bit of food grade hydrogen peroxide in there,
Mm-hmm.
but that's about it. We kind of run our hands through them, and I do know that like just wetting them helps loosen the seed hulls even more. But again, like we usually just, you know, try and like touch them as minimal as possible.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, I think peas right now. They're also because we have a USDA LFP grant to purchase microgreens. So let me back up. We have significantly kind of maybe not downside is a wrong term, streamlined the production to only growing peas, cilantro, and radish. Like we used to grow all the others as well for restaurants, but ever since we started working with community orgs and food security organizations, like we started to just streamline to those three varieties. And my other company, Hardy Provisions, received a USDA local food purchasing cooperative agreement that it is basically direct purchases for food security, and USDA reimburses us. That's a pandemic era program that's set to end, I think, like this month.
Oh.
Right. So we've mainly been growing a ton of peas for that program. And it's cool because, you know, they're now being enjoyed by families that wouldn't have been able to access them otherwise.
And what day are you harvesting the peas?
Oh, let's see. I think
Kind of varies depending on the
I would say
season
10,
and the weather.
day 10.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how are people mostly using them?
I don't know, actually. It's been a while since I've actually spoken to
Because you can just
someone
eat a
about it.
handful. You can put it on
Yeah.
your eggs, your salad, your sandwich,
Yeah.
whatever. You just don't want to cook it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how most people do it. I just put them in as a portion on my plate, you know, sometimes into a salad, but usually just by themselves.
Do you ever just juice a bunch of them?
No,
Do
I've
that.
never juiced them.
Juice them. That's my way of like when
Okay,
I was early
cool.
on testing. I'm like,
Yeah.
which microgreens do I move into? And I was
Yeah.
like, really, I've always just been led in like just a intuitive, prayerful way.
Yeah.
And part of that early intuition was just juice them, because when
Yeah.
you juice something, it's like an IV right
Right,
into your
right,
blood,
right,
and then you get the full like concentrated
Yeah.
power of it. And some of these, for me, hit like lightning.
Really?
I'm like, what the heck?
Wow.
And
Okay.
and peas didn't do that for me. I think peas are closer to like a lettuce, which is awesome. But the cruciferous, broccoli, radish, cabbage, is just like, what the heck is this? And maybe that's what my body needed and craved. And it was like the medicine perfect for me. And I was like, I'm buzzing.
Yeah.
I got to move into this. This is
I definitely felt that. I mean, I've put them in smoothies, you know, and I've so if I remember correctly, with broccoli, you have to crush it to release the sulforaphane.
Yeah, glucoraphanin and myrosinase are the precursors to sulforaphane, which activates the nerve 2 pathway.
Right, and so it's the crushing of them, right? So I would actually freeze them and then add
Thanks,
them to
Dr. Rhonda Patrick. Yep.
Yeah, and then actually add them to the smoothie.
Nice.
That's how I would enjoy them.